The fourth modeling assignment is the hinge bracket. I'm going to go ahead and create a new part. The units are metric. Come down and change my units to metric. Maximize my window to get to my options gear. Go to document properties. Set the overall drafting standard to ANSI. Click on dimensions. Metric files in this modeling project are to be 3 decimal places. That's all set. This part sits on like a tabletop with this face, the bottom face on it. I'm going to go ahead and draw this inverted T shape on the front construction plane. So I hit sketch, create a new sketch. I'm going to make this one on the front plane. I'm going to create construction geometry. Create my center line vertically with coincidence to origin. Right mouse click end chain. Get coincidence to my origin and create a horizontal line, construction line. Place my endpoint, end chain. Uncheck for construction and begin drawing my shape. I'm going to draw half of this shape, extrude it, and then mirror the extrusion. I have a slot in the bottom, 12 millimeters wide, 5 millimeters tall. If I look at my coordinates down on the bottom here, I'm going to go up roughly 5 millimeters and pull over to make a line that's about 6 millimeters long. Pull down to my construction line. The overall width of the finished part will be 42 millimeters. Half of that is 21 millimeters. So I'm going to look at my position here, and I want to see that I'm out about 21 millimeters. See that I'm getting close to my midpoint. I do not want to be tied to that midpoint of the construction line. If I have to go a little bit farther, I'll go a little bit farther. The height of this section right here is 10 millimeters, so I'm going to draw a line roughly 10 millimeters long as shown next to my pencil. From this point, I'm just going to kind of eyeball some things. The height here, I don't know what it is, but I know that it wants to intersect the cylinder. So I'm just going to draw something up. Go to my center construction line, close my sketch. I'm going to dimension my sketch right now. Go to Smart Dimensions. I'm going to use diameter dimensioning mode to dimension this slot and the outside shape and this width. Pick this line, pick my construction line, and I get a dimension across that would be the imaginary full width. Type in a value of 12 millimeters, hit enter. Overall width of the finished part out to this edge will be 42 millimeters. Still in diameter dimensioning mode, 42 millimeters. The width of this section here, completed, will be 7 millimeters. Pick on that line. Get a full width, 7 millimeters. The height here is 10 millimeters. I'm going to escape one click to get out of diameter dimensioning mode. I'm just in a standard dimensioning mode. Pick that line. Give it a value of 10 millimeters. Hit enter. This slot is 5 millimeters high. pick on that line, escape out one click, pick on that line, get a value of 5 millimeters. You can see the only thing that's not defined yet is this height. For now, I'm going to leave that, say OK. I'm going to go ahead and exit my sketch. I'm going to create an extruded feature. The overall length is 56 millimeters of the bottom portion of this solid. I'm going to go to my Features tab. I want to create something, so I'm using Extruded Boss Base. My end condition is blind. I'm going to set that to mid-plane. So we can see that as I pull the arrow, I get extrusion equidistant in both directions. 56 millimeters is the value that I want to have there. So that extrudes half of the lower shape of this project. I'm going to go ahead and pull this over. I'm going to mirror a feature. The face or plane I'm going to mirror about, in this case, will be my right plane. It chose Boss Extruded 1 already. Say OK. If we go into a hidden line mode, we can see that we have no knit lines down the middle. We have one solid that's been created there. So now I'm going to create a sketch for this upper area, this round cylinder shape. I'm going to create a new sketch, not edit my existing sketch. Create a new sketch button. I'm going to go ahead and use the front plane again. This cylinder is 80 millimeters long. The lower base is 56 millimeters long. This cylinder overhangs both ends, equidistant, 12 millimeters. If I had created the sketch on this face, it would be more difficult to extend 12 millimeters off in either direction. So I chose my front plane as my sketch face, and then I can use mid-plane to extrude my upper cylinder 80 millimeters total, or 40 millimeters front, 40 millimeters back, and that will give me my 12 millimeter overhang. So I'm going to draw the circles that will create my cylinder. First thing I'm going to draw is a vertical center line, get my inference to origin, draw a vertical center line. I'm going to go ahead and draw a circle. I'm going to get inference to that center line, not to the end point, just to the center line. The radius of the finished outside of the cylinder is 17 millimeters. And I'm going to create another circle with a radius of approximately 11 millimeters. If I say OK, you can see that my sketch is central to the part. I'm going to exit my sketch, and I'm going to go into the Features tab and create an extruded boss base with that sketch. You can see that my end condition defaulted to blind. I want to do mid-plane so that I get equal extruding in both directions from the sketch plane. The overall length of the upper cylinder is 80 millimeters. Type in 80, hit enter, hit the green check. You can can see if I shade this, I have my cylinder, but I have something in the middle that needs to be gone. When I created that cylinder, I edit it, merge results was on, so this is one solid. So now I'm going to go back into the sketch for my lower shape, and I'm going to edit it. Just go ahead and grab this edge here and pull it down. Say OK, exit the sketch, regenerate this, and we can see that what was in there before has now disappeared. If I had wanted to do it a little more precisely, I could have measured from this edge to that point right there to determine the minimum length that I need of this edge. I could have gone into my sketch for the lower section and I could have snapped a true dimension on this overall height. You can see that as I went into that sketch there, it gives me an idea that my solids are intersecting. I'm going to go ahead and exit that sketch. You can see that this actually, the one last thing I have to do to this, we notice that both circles are blue. The diameters are not defined, and also the distance from the bottom of the part up to the center of the circles is not defined. I go to my smart dimension, pick this edge on my part, pick the center of my circles. I'm going to set that to 52 millimeters. You can see that this got very close to exceeding that. If we need to, we can go back and readjust that later. I'm going to dimension my outer circle. By the print, it's a 17 millimeter radius. Our value is being shown as a diameter. Once I pick it, I can do 17 times 2. The radius times 2 will equal the diameter, or if you know that 17 times 2 is 34, you could just do that. The inner diameter, it's a radius of 11. If I multiply that times 2, it will give me a 22 millimeter diameter. Click my green check, exit my sketch and rebuild, and verify that there's nothing extending from this up beyond the circle. Go ahead and hover over my part, right mouse click to my appearances, to my part, and give it some kind of color other than gray. Say OK to make this go away, pick in the white. This project is completed. I'm going to go File, Save As. This is project number 4, so I'm going to just inherit the name from my previous project and change it to Modeling 4, my last name, my first initial, Rev1, today's date. Save that file.